and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Megan. I'm with Inkredible Techniques, and today I want to share with you how to make this adorable little cat card. This is called the Retiform technique. I'm going to show you how to do that. It's really simple. And the stamp set we're using today is called 9 Lives. Hopefully the glare isn't too bad there. And it's got your calico, your tabby, and it's got the fish, the mouse, food bowl, of course, yarn, all kinds of fun stuff. This is really a fun stamp set, and it is available in the Occasions catalog. So if you're here in the US and you do not have a demonstrator but would like the catalog, then look in the description below. There'll be links where you can find out how to request a catalog from me. And I think with that said, let's just go ahead and get started on today's project. So again, this is the card that we're making today, and we do need a few supplies to get us started. So one is I'm going to be bringing in a piece of my Stampin' Up! Grid paper. Now, if you don't have grid paper, you can do this with rulers and measurements, but just the grid paper makes it super, super easy. The stamp set that we're using for today's project is called 9 Lives, and it is just a real fun set. Obviously, all things cat, and actually, my sweet cat got very, very sick this last week, and we spent last weekend at the vet's. So I am making this card as a thank you card for his vet. Also for today's project, it's easier to have, I find, Post-it notes. These are the larger size. And then I also have one small size as well. And I'm gonna go ahead and bring in my piece of paper. Now all the dimensions will be in the description below, but this one is, I believe, 5 1/4 by 4. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take off several sheets of these Post-it notes. And we're also using the colors Coastal Cabana and Lemon Lime Twist. And I have 2 sponge daubers that I'm going to be using with those colors. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this cardstock kind of down. Well, I guess I'll put it in the center. Actually, make sure you guys can see. So I'm going to lay this in the center of my grid paper, and I am just centering it from top to bottom. So, and really all the way around. Now I want to go 1 inch in. So I'm going to first block off 1 inch this way, which would be about there on this line. And I'm just going to lay my Post-it note down across this way. I'm going to take another Post-it note and I'm going to go up 1 inch up this way, or about 1 inch. It's not actually maybe not quite 1 inch going this direction. Okay. And then I'm going to take all 4 corners. I'm going to use Coastal Cabana. I've got my sponge dauber, and I'm just going to ink that up, and then I'm going to start on my Post-it note and then run off, because if you run off onto the paper too soon, you can get it too dark. So I always start off on the Post-it note and then work my way down. And on this side, same thing. I'll start on the grid paper and kind of work my way around. And you can do this however you want. It doesn't have to be too dark or too light, just whatever you think looks good. I am going to be stamping in these corners, so I want to keep in mind I don't want it too dark because I want the stamps to show up. Okay, so then we have our first corner. And while I'm here, I'll just go ahead and do the bottom corner here too. So again, I'm going to take 1 inch over, which would be this line right here, lining up my Post-it note. And then I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, to about the 4 inch mark there. I'm going to block off this corner. And by doing this, you're making sure that you don't get ink on any part of the cardstock that you don't want it to be on. And this card, it is actually very easy. It may look like it's complicated, but it's really not. It's super easy. So we have our 4th corner. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go ahead and block this one off up here. So we're doing the 4 corners, and then we're going to come back and do the spaces in between. Okay, so there's our corner there. Just lay that straight, and then we'll grab our dauber again and do this corner. Okay, so we're done with the Coastal Cabana for now, so I'm going to close that ink up and set that off to the side. I'm going to grab the lemon lime twist. Now, we already have our 4 corners, so at this point, we are just lining up our paper, our Post-it note here, with the inked lines already. And then I'm just laying it down. So only one side do I have the Post-it sort of down. And then now you're gonna wanna cover up all the other places where you have ink. You're gonna wanna protect those because you don't wanna blend the ink colors together. Or at least I don't want to on this project. You could choose to do that if you wanted, but so that's all I'm doing is laying my lines to cover up where I have already sponged the ink. And this technique is called the Retiform technique, if you're interested in knowing that. So same thing, this is a lighter color, but I will just lightly and in circular motion just start adding my color. This ink pad's a little bit drier, so I'm having to ink my dauber a little bit more. Okay, so we're good with that. And then that's all, I'm going to do the exact same thing all the way around the card. Okay, so now we have, I'm going to turn it this way. And same thing, I'm just lining up where the ink was before. And then covering up the edges of each square corner to the best that I can. Okay, then we're gonna sponge this one. Okay, I'm going to set this aside, close this ink up. We'll peel all the Post-it notes off. And I'll just set those off to the side. So now you have the panel that's all done. Now we're going to start our stamping. So for the stamping, I'm going to be using a basic gray. I'm going to start with my cat and inking him up. Now this stamp set does have some stamps that are what we call 2-layer or 2-step stamping. So on this one, we're going to start with this one. This one is sort of the outline of the cat, and I'm just going to have it so that he's sitting kind of right in the center of this white image block. And I should have grabbed my foam mat just because these are photopolymer stamps, so it's much easier to stamp with the little bit of cushioning underneath. So let me grab that real quick. Okay, now that I have my foam mat. Now, this particular stamp set, like I mentioned a moment ago, is has some 2-step stamps in it. And I have found that this particular cat is a little bit tricky to get it to line up properly. So what I found works the best, so lay it on your image first, then take your block and mount it on your block. You're gonna have a much easier time of matching it up on this particular stamp. The other stamps that are 2-step in this one aren't as finicky. Get it? Finicky. Okay. And then I'm just trying to, I think right there is where, I hope that worked. Yep, that's pretty good. I'm going to next grab my little fish. I'm gonna put my fish in 2 of the corners here. And I just liked kind of alternating the layout of these fish. So I just put 2 that are sort of top to bottom and then 1 in the center here. And I'm going to do that same thing down in the lower right corner. And then one. So it looks kind of like a school of fish swimming. So I'm done with my fish. I have 3 little hearts here. Ink that up. And I'm going to stamp those in the center there. Do that same thing on the lower left. Oops, I got a little bit of ink smudge there. That's okay. So we're done with that. Then I have this yarn with the heart in it. I'm going to stamp that kind of in the center of the rectangle. And then I have the words meow. So all I did with that was I alternated. So I started off kind of towards the top and center. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Then I go just drop down. I'm just eyeballing this. There's no rhyme or reason as to how I'm doing this. And then I'm going to come over to the left side. And then I'll end up again kind of towards the center. Center in the bottom. Okay. So that is all I need for that gray color. I'm going to go ahead and pull my Coastal Cabana out again. And I'm going to ink my sentiment in Coastal Cabana and stamp that right in the center towards the top of this white panel. True love has 4 paws. We're ready to stamp the inside panel of our card. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and ink it up as well as in Coastal Cabana. Didn't quite stamp. Well, you know what? That's why we have 2 sides of paper. The top of that sentiment didn't stamp very well. So I'm going to ink my stamp back up again. And I'm going to try that again. Get my head closer to the camera this time. There we go. That's better. Then I'm going to take this yarn again, and I had already inked it up once in the gray. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to have that kind of at an angle. And I think I want it also on this side. Okay. So that's the inside panel. And we don't want to forget our envelope. It's fun to decorate the envelopes as well. So the envelope, I'm going to take that same yarn stamp and I'm going to stamp that right there. Okay, so we have our little envelope stamped. And now we're ready to assemble the card. So I have a piece of Coastal Cabana. And again, the dimensions will be in the description below. I'm going to grab my bone folder here just so I get a nice smooth edge. I'm going to go ahead and put adhesive on the, make sure I got the right side. Since I stamped wrong on the one side, make sure I'm putting the adhesive on the right side. I'm going to center this inside the card, and then I'm going to mount my panel onto the card front. Okay, so for one last touch, I have the bow yet to do. I'm going to grab the solid bow first. I'm going to ink it up in Coastal Cabana, but I want this one very, very light because I want the outline to really show up. So I'm going to, what we call stamp off. I'm going to stamp once on that piece of paper and then right up here. And then I'm going to come in with the outline piece and ink it up. And since these are photopolymer stamps, I can see right over top what I just stamped. and stamp that. So there you have your bow. So you can see what a cute card that makes. Be great for your vet or just your cat lovers in your world. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up for the like, and please, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, I would invite you to do so. I typically post videos at least once a week. By subscribing, you'll be notified every time I have a new video if you hit subscribe and then click the bell to get notifications. So if you have questions, let me know, and otherwise we'll see you in the next video. Have an incredible day.